All right. Hello, good morning or afternoon or even evening. Hopefully we have some people over in Europe and beyond joining us. But this is ILEA Member Rally Month. And this week we are hearing from different ILEA leaders all about their experiences, their careers, and what ILEA has meant to them. So thank you so much for joining us. My name is Melissa Jerkin, CSEP. I am the International President of ILEA. And just to tell you a little bit about the organization, if you're new here, ILEA has been around since 1987, so we are approaching almost 40 years. There are almost 40 chapters around the world in 35 different countries, and there are 1,500 members, all that make up our global community for creative event professionals. ILEA is the umbrella organization that brings together all those that plan and produce events. So everybody from decorators, caterers, planners, producers, marketers, audiovisual specialists, all to come together really to celebrate and cultivate creativity in the event industry. And right now, you've joined at a great time because we are doing our Member Rally Month, where we're offering $50 off the membership fee. So it's a wonderful time to join to get ready for the new year. You can pop online. There's only 10 days left to join at this rate. Basically, it's $325. It equals $27 a month. Your membership is good for 1 full year. So we'd love to have you join us. You can pop over to our website, ileahub.com, and the code is FallFest24. So very easy to join. Love to see you pop into our inbox here before the end of November. And now, without further ado, we will introduce our fabulous speakers. We have Dana Macaulay, CSEP, joining us today, International Past President, 2020 to 21, decades of experience in ILEA, going to tell us all about her experiences planning and producing events in Napa, Sonoma, and around the world, and what her experience has been like involved in ILEA. And also, we have Connie Seibt, Michigan chapter president last year, 2023, 2024, so serving as past president now. Also decades of experience, and actually one of the founders of the former ILEA Arizona chapter that I know is working to reformulate. So super exciting experiences here. Obviously, she's heavily involved in the Michigan chapter now. So can't wait to hear from them both. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dana and Connie.
Wonderful. Melissa. We're excited to be here, so thank you. And I get the honor and privilege to ask Dana some questions, and hopefully it will help you all with just being excited about being in the event community wherever you are, and hopefully a little bit more information of why it is so exciting and important to be part of our ILEA association. So first, let's just get started. I mean, obviously, most people here are here for a reason because we are part of the event community already. But it's always interesting and exciting to hear how people got to where they are or why they chose the event industry. So if you could tell us a little bit about how you got started and why you chose the event industry.
Sure. I mean, I think for a lot of us, it's in our blood since we're kids. I mean, from the time I was little, I forced everybody in the family after the big family dinner to come out and see the big production that my sister and I would be putting on for the evening. But really, my start after college, I traveled cross country. I'm originally from New England, but ended up in California, one coast to the other. And I had worked in restaurants a little bit in college, and I got an amazing job working in a really cool restaurant that really focused on amazing cuisine and wine. And I really fell in love with food and wine. And if you think about it, every night in a restaurant is really an event production, and every table is having their own experience. And I learned a lot about wine, and one of the wineries that we worked with a lot and had on our restaurant list was Sagazio Winery, and I heard about a job there and threw my hat in the ring there and ended up landing a job really to design and launch their events program. So they had these wonderful wine club events, but they were really looking to take that to the next level, but also build out and start a private events program. And that's really how my journey in the events industry started officially.
That's exciting. And I think it's interesting how you say it's in our blood, because I think that the majority of people that I'm connected with in the industry, it's all something that they passionately have done from, like you said, family parties or back in the day, it's not something that somebody usually changes their mind to switch to. It's usually something that is in us, good or bad. It's something that's in our blood, like you said.
Absolutely.
And then could you tell us now about your current role and what you are doing in the industry and how that applies to kind of where you came from?
Sure. I'm a bit of a lifer at places when I find something that really strikes my heart and soul. So I did spend 8 years at Segazio, so really working at one winery with one brand. And back in the restaurant business, I really learned so much about so many wines from Sonoma County and around the world. And I had the opportunity to join Sonoma County Vintners, and kind of like ILEA, Sonoma County Vintners is a member-based association. Our members are the wineries across Sonoma County. And what we do as an organization is really market and promote the world-class wines of our region, our wineries, to the world, and connect people to the global community. And so my job within Sonoma County Vintners originally was to come in kind of similar to at Segazio, take the programs we were already doing, kind of take them to the next level, but build some new initiatives. And one of those included Sonoma County Barrel Auction, which we started back in 2015. So it was kind of researching and designing and figuring out how to launch this trade-based auction of wine futures. We also have a foundation arm, so we're a 501c6 and a C3. So our foundation each year has an auction as well, and there we raise money to support nonprofits across the region. We also do some big events, have a big Taste of Sonoma festival each year. So my role is Director of Auctions and Experiential Marketing for Sonoma County Vintners. And we have a lean and really amazing team and do a lot of great things together. So it's very fulfilling.
That's excellent. It sounds wonderful. And I love some of the keywords that you mentioned. Definitely strike a lot of the keywords that we use when we talk about ILEA. So your path with your career and your path with ILEA sound like they were meant for each other. But so what are some of the things that ILEA has helped shape for you in going forward with your career?
Yeah, sure. So I've been a member kind of aligned with that time of joining Segazio. So we were designing and launching an events program and doing a build out above the tasting room to do these private events. And my boss and CEO of the company at the time, Pete Segazio, said, here's some wineries that we love. Will you go out with my cousin Gia, who's a chef, and kind of check out what they're doing and see how they're doing things? And so I put together 3 pages of questions, cold called all these other wineries, and went out and interviewed people who were event directors at these different wineries. We went and checked in on wine and food pairing programs and all different kinds of things. And everywhere I went, people just opened their doors and welcomed me in, which kind of mirrors how ILEA shaped my path. At one of the wineries I went to, they said, "Oh, you should go interview my husband. He works at this winery." And then when I went there, he said, "Oh, have you heard of ILEA?" I'm like, "What's ILEA?" And he's like, well, I mean, we were a different name then, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so I went to this chapter information meeting. The ILEA Napa Sonoma chapter was just forming, kind of spinning off of our sister chapter, ILEA Northern California. And so I became one of the inaugural members as we launched that ILEA chapter. And so it was really interesting to come in at the beginning. And of course, it's not long, Connie, I'm sure you know from your journey, before someone asks you, "Hey, will you get more involved and join the board?" And so I think that moment was a game changer in my life. What I've learned over the years from being a member of the board on a local chapter and then the international board, and all the people that you meet through ILEA, has really helped to shape my career, but also a personal journey. So it's both personal and professional, and provides so many growth opportunities.
And would you say that being from the very beginning, it shapes you, like you mentioned, you got in on the ground floor, if you will, of the local chapter that you are joining. Getting that in your blood in the beginning? Do you think a lot of your passion came from that?
I mean, I think it came from a lot of things. You know, when I first went to that meeting, I knew the one person who invited me, you know, and then I joined the chapter and met some people at that first like information meeting. And then as a board member, because I didn't really know anybody, I was new, you know, I'm like, I'll work registration, right? Or I'll help hand out the name tags, right? And that's how I started to get to know people. And then as I worked my way through the chapter board, of course, then that leads to like a director and then a VP role and then chapter president, and then being on those calls with all the other chapter presidents in the region, which Melissa was actually my RVP at the time, my regional vice president for the Western region. And I just felt so connected to so many other people that were going through similar things that we were, that it really inspired me, like on my journey, that I wanted to be that person to help and support others who are coming up in the industry. And that's how it kind of, you know, changed my path within ILEA. I don't even remember what the question was, but you know what I mean? Like you just get it in your heart and blood. And I remember another moment when I first joined the international board and I was asked to go on stage at ILEA Live and talk about the value of membership. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm a new board member, you know? So I went out, interviewed a few different people that were really like in our region, like these great, membership drive team members that really spoke to the value of ILEA. And I'm like, you know, how do you talk about it? But when I got on that stage, the crazy thing that I realized is by going and being a part of things, when I looked out, I knew hundreds of people in the audience. So I went from knowing that one person to have friends all around the country and around the globe.
It truly is a connection that brings people together. I mean, like you said, you go from knowing 1 to 100, and I truly think that as well. Like when you have that thing in common, and it's different, like a caterer to a caterer having that in common. I mean, obviously there's a connection there, but when you say, I'm an ILEA member, oh my gosh, I'm an ILEA member too. There's something about that that really does connect people a little bit more, and you can't get that in many other ways. So I think that's something that's very
Yeah.
important to
And I
make sure.
think Melissa was saying that earlier when she's talking about what ILEA is all about. ILEA is for everyone in the events industry, right? So you're not just a caterer talking to a caterer, but you're, you know, a caterer talking to a producer, talking to a lighting designer, talking to a rental company. You know, it's like everybody, it encompasses everything that we're doing and everything that we need to think about. And there's always somebody there that can help you. Like, I don't, you know, when I went to take my CSEP, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to my local production company because I just don't speak tech, you know, like I want the thing that does the thing that does the thing. Here's what I want, right? Like, so to learn more about that, you know, they became my teachers.
And you had a go-to for that. That's the most
Yeah,
important. You have a go-to for almost
absolutely.
everything.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something else about being, you know, being new and then being a member and then being a board member and continuing your path. That's something that when I'm talking to people about their interest in joining, or if they join, it's kind of like the what's next. And I'm obviously being on the board and then a president and now past president. I speak very highly about the importance of taking it to the next level and being on the board and seeing where that goes. What was would you mind painting the picture about your timeline? Like how quickly did you jump into being a board member and being active in that role?
Yeah, I think when it's a new chapter, especially, but not even if you're a newer chapter, it often happens pretty quickly. Um, you know, I think it's really all about how to make the most out of your ILEA membership, you know, is to get involved and be a part of things because and for me, it was pretty quick. Like I was a member for about 6 months, and then the current president asked me, "Hey, would you consider like coming on the board?" And that's where it all really began. And I think there are times too where people get really busy, and I remember like, you know, coming into the role as president and, you know, looking at the people coming up behind me, and people would say like, "Oh, I don't know if I can take on that role because, oh my gosh, I'm so busy." But you know, it's really about we're all in it together, and we all have like these different times that we're super busy. And so like the board isn't like, you might have a VP of membership, but everybody's the VP of membership, right? Everybody's the VP of programs. Everybody's the president, you know, like we all have these roles, but we're all there to support each other and be a part of things. So that came pretty quickly, getting involved. And, you know, we often say the ILEA Kool-Aid, and it really is true. Once you take a sip, you know, and start meeting the people, I really think, look, to join ILEA, Melissa was mentioning the membership rally right now. It's a perfect time to join. When you think about your membership over the year, you know, right now it's $325, normally $375. That's about $30 a month. How many of us spend $30 a month just going to get a couple of drinks with a friend? Why don't you spend $30 a month to get a couple of drinks with millions of friends all across the globe, right? You know, it's really worth it. And I think once you taste and dip your toes in the water and get more involved in the experience, my friend Corrine from Vancouver always says, you know, when you really get into ILEA, what you experience is a fierce sense of belonging. Like we just love each other so much, you know, and for those of you who are more shy out there, I think what I would say is get outside your comfort zone, right? Like we often gravitate when we go somewhere, like, oh, I know Connie, I know Melissa, let me go hang out with them. I haven't seen them in a while. And that's great. Like reconnect with the people that you know and love, but take the opportunity to meet some new people that you've never met before, because they'll become your next Melissa and Connie.
Yeah, that's a good point. And networking is scary for everybody, but when you're in, again, this community, everyone's there for a reason. So when you are a member, or I mean, member or non-member, everyone's welcome, of course. But when you're a member, you just have that extra sense of community and those around you and the commonality that you have, that you share with someone.
And you're a member, not just of your local chapter, you're an international member. And we have a lot of members at large that might not even have a chapter right in their area, but they have the benefit of all of the programs that ILEA International is putting on.
As well as knowing that you can go to that member list and searching for somebody else to then connect with. So that's great too. Yeah, we have a few people in our chapter here actually that travel to other company locations in other states. And they've been trying to take advantage of looking up the program schedule, which is fantastic, because then they can relate to the chapter in that other state and do the same things that they're doing here locally in Michigan. So I love that as well. We got to remember that it's not just our little network of wherever we are, wherever we're living.
Right.
It's our network everywhere. I mean, we are all connected in different ways in the different states that we live, and that's very special.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there, you kind of mentioned this about being able to go to your producer friend and ask for help while you're studying your CSEP. But what are some of your memorable experience that you have that is either a relationship or an event or something that has been created because of ILEA?
Sure. I'm going to talk about connections. It's kind of a funny, silly story, but when I go to different, like I-24 that we just had in Seattle, which is so amazing. You know, I'll see so many people that I do know, and I'll make some new friends, but often we don't really remember exactly when we met someone and the impact that they've made in our lives. And it was a long time ago. I was just coming in as ILEA Napa Sonoma chapter president. There were ILEA leadership meetings in San Francisco, which was like so close by. I'm like, yay, you know, cruised on down. But people from ILEA came from all over the country, Canada, across the globe to San Francisco. And so the leadership was happening live in person, and there was a round table for incoming presidents. And I sat next to a few other incoming presidents. I went to pour myself a glass of water. And then I thought, oh, I'll be nice and I'll pour some for the person next to me. Well, you know, those big silver pitchers and they're filled with ice and water. I poured my water. I didn't know that I had finished off all the water. So all that was left in this ice bucket was a bucket of ice, which I then dumped all over this person next to me, who ended up being Richard Phelps from the UK, incoming president there. And so this was, gosh, I don't know, 16 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
And So he forgave me. We became really good friends. He definitely became a huge mentor for me, helped me to see that the leadership journey was more than just my local chapter and to consider moving up and beyond, and then throwing my hat in the ring for regional vice president and the board of governors. And so he comes out almost every year to our different leadership programs and conferences, and we always make time to catch up and see what's going on in each other's lives, have served on some task forces and committees together. But just having a lifelong friend that comes from kind of a silly, memorable moment, but really knowing that you have those connections out there and making these lifelong friends. I guess the
Sure.
one thing I would say to people out there too is, you know, when you're coming, and I've said this before, I think at conferences, to newer people coming out, make the most of your time there. You know, you can get a lot of sleep anytime. A lot of us don't get that much sleep anyway. You know, it's like, go to all the education, go to all the networking, but also come back, sit in the lobby bar, get a drink or a glass of water or whatever, but stay up and make that time to get to know some people, because it's those moments that you forge these lifelong friendships.
And it's the in-person relationships too that you help build from that face-to-face. So many of us don't get that as easily or as often these days. So that
Yeah.
face-to-face togetherness is important.
Yeah. You asked about my kind of career path and ILEA journey a little while ago. And when you join the Board of Governors, it's kind of a long journey if you then throw your hat in the ring for the officer track. And so when you apply and move along, you don't really know what your year as international president might bring. Maybe you noticed at the beginning when Melissa introduced me that I was president from 2020 through 2021. So it's kind of, you know, you never expect the L to be taken out of ILEA in your year as president. But out of adversity comes opportunity. And what we did during that year is you really saw our entire industry coming together. Like, people were going through so much. And we had a webinar like twice a week, every week, invited people to join on, and suddenly became more connected than ever before in the way that we're doing it right now, right? Like, it changed our mindset. Like, we used to do international board meetings when we weren't in person over the phone. Suddenly it's like, yes, we're all here in person. We can see each other speaking, we can connect and get to know each other. There are people that I meet sometimes that I'm like Tom Cura, who's a current RVP. When we saw each other, we're like, oh my gosh, we've known each other for years now over Zoom, and we finally get to meet in person, right? So that was an amazing opportunity. I know Melissa's appearing at some places around the globe during her year as president. I couldn't go anywhere in person. And I was so excited because we were going to do ILEA Live in San Francisco and right here, like kind of in the community. However, I got to go to the ILEA Nigeria annual general meeting via Zoom. I don't think they ever would have thought to invite me, but because we were all coming together in chapters across the globe, we're doing programs together, it became like, aha, yeah, we can be anywhere. So that was a huge opportunity. However, like, of course, being in person is always so lovely. So I'll look forward to seeing everyone in person at our next conference.
Of course. And you and I have not met in person before. However, when I got asked to do this and I heard, you know, who I would be interviewing, I kind of had a sense of like, oh yeah, I know who she is, because of the amount of Zooms that I have been on with you and during your presidency term and, you know, other ILEA educational components. So you're right. I mean, even though I did say the important in-person connections are important, however, this just goes to prove as well that you can have that sense of belonging and togetherness like this. But yeah, I was excited when I said, I was like, I know what she looks like, I know what she sounds like, but I have not met her face to face. So
And I think it gives more accessibility. Like I remember coming up as like a local board member and going to international things and seeing the board of governors walk by and I would be in awe, right? And then you learn like everyone's a person, like everybody will welcome you in. And I think that's the important thing as a new member or somebody who's considering joining is that we were all new at some time and everybody, there's somebody out there for you that will be there to mentor you and help you along the way.
Just like our careers are similar. We've all kind of started in the same way getting to our career. We've all kind of started the same way with ILEA. So, and I think someone that's those on the members that are a little bit more seasoned would all feel the same way about welcoming new. And I think
Yeah.
like someone like myself, I love when there's someone new because I love being able to get them excited about what they don't know about. So I think that's the other thing too is don't be shy about joining because there's a lot of people on that board that are so excited that you're there and welcoming you and showing you what you have as being an ILEA member and then showing what you can get out of your membership and the relationship. So there's
Yeah, and as a new member, you're bringing a lot to the table too. Maybe you have a lot of industry experience. Maybe you don't have a lot of industry experience, but you have a lot of experience as a human being. And I think it's really interesting to hear from people across the spectrum, whatever their generation, whatever their experience, because we can all learn something from everyone. And we can all learn from you, whoever you are out there that's listening to us right now. So we want to welcome you in and work together to elevate the events industry as a whole. Together, we can make a huge difference.
what do you think if somebody's on the fence right now that's out there and they're like, oh, I want to join, but I'm not so sure. Let me listen to this and find out, what is going to push me to that next level. What is the number one thing that you would give to someone that you would recommend to someone looking to join ILEA?
Yeah, I think it's really about ILEA being the entire events community, right? Like, so by joining ILEA, you have that global network, you have friends locally and all over the place. It's going to depend on the individual and what you're needing right now in your life, whether you're looking for personal growth, networking opportunities, business opportunities. There's really something for you in ILEA, and take the leap, take the jump, start out locally and expand your network from there.
Yep, absolutely. And then getting the most out of your membership. We kind of, I think we talked about this a bit, and I think you and I both sound very passionate about you just keep taking those next steps within the association, within the chapter that you're associated with. But what advice do you have for someone that is starting up that wants to take the most out of their membership, make the most out of their membership? Excuse me.
I think number one, show up, right? Take advantage of every opportunity to be here with ILEA, right? So whatever your local chapter is doing, as much as you can, go to those programs and be a part of them. If you are traveling, as you were saying earlier, Connie, look up, is there an ILEA chapter in the area? What are they doing? Go to ILEA Hub, look at the events that are happening, because there are things listed right now that you can join virtually and be a part of. So I think you really need to be the one to make the most out of your membership. Like no one can do it for you. You can't say, expect something without giving of yourself. So be there, be present, participate. I would also say, unless you really need it, tuck your phone away, right? Like be fully here when you're here. And get involved. So even as a member, you can volunteer and help at your local chapter without being on the board. Like it can be a small thing, whether it's being on a committee, whether it's saying, oh, hey, I see you're doing a program here. It's really nearby. Can I help you set up? What do you need? By working together in the moment, and it's often when there's some crazy drama going on and you're like quickly trying to like make everything come together, that when you're working together under that pressure, that you really make that close friend. And I think that is true for the board too. So I highly recommend considering getting on the board of your chapter, throwing your hat in the ring to be a part of that, because you really learn how to work together with a group of people, how to come to consensus. What I learned there, being on the board locally and then internationally, has helped me so much in my current job, where I do work for a nonprofit association. I am on the team. We're governed by a board. So that was like kind of a mirror journey for me. Like in one area, I was on a board of an association and we had an amazing headquarters team. And then in my day job, I'm on the team and we have a board that we're working with. So that really helped me to understand both aspects. But I think wherever you are, whatever you're doing, getting involved in the organizations that you're part of is so much more enriching than just showing up from time to time.
For sure. And something that you mentioned too, and I think that's important to highlight again, is if you don't want to join the board or if you're not ready for that, there's other things you can do to be involved, like you mentioned. And I just remember always volunteering for registration. And one, I was involved, but two, you're forced to read every single name coming in that door. So
And you're not doing it awkwardly looking at the name
No.
tag on somebody's shirt, right? Which is always so obvious, but hey, it's okay to do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I don't have to go up to that cocktail table and interrupt someone's story to say, "Hi, my name is Connie. This is what I do. I wanted to see if I could talk." So registration and don't be afraid to ask the board what you can help with. Don't wait for them to come to you. I always say our membership to get somebody new at the registration desk. So I would say don't be scared to ask the board what you can do to assist with the programs. And it doesn't have to be, hours of planning that maybe the board puts in. Literally, just sit at that registration desk. And it is so fun to put a face to a name. And maybe you don't say anything right then and there, obviously, but then oh, that's what he looks like. And then late in the night, you can go up and talk to him.
Right. And you'd be like, oh, I met you over at registration. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Like, it's always nice when you ask something about the other person and, oh, I see you work at this place, a good friend of mine got married there, whatever,
Sure.
like that, try to make a connection, but also like try to find out something about them. And instead of going over and pitching your business or whatever, but I was kind of saying this earlier, I think it's just important to get outside your comfort zone because it is kind of scary. Like I remember going to my first like ILEA live and and actually like I went into a session and Richard and some other folks were leading a panel and he said, "Hi, Dana, welcome in," and like, it was like I had met that poor person that I spilled this bucket of ice on, and then a year or so later, he's helping to welcome me in. But after that, I went up and it didn't really hurt that I had a card from working in a winery here. If you're ever in wine country, come and visit, right? But we all have something like that. Like, oh, if you take that step beyond your local chapter and you're coming to something international and you don't really know too many people are traveling all over. Hey, if you're ever in Michigan, let me know. I'd love to, tell you, oh, if you're ever in wine country, wherever you are that you're listening from, if, everybody will be interested in possibly knowing a little bit more about you and what you're doing. And so just don't be shy to get out there and kind of go introduce yourself. And maybe you have to suss it out. Obviously, somebody might be in the middle of an important conversation or preparing for their next session that they're doing, but on the whole, like everybody will be very welcoming. So I think that's really what I want to say about ILEA. I think that's really the heart of things. We're truly a community and everybody will welcome you in to be a part of things.
That's important. It's very true. And if there is any other stories that you feel that would be good to share to everybody on this call right now that truly shows the value of being an ILEA member from your perspectives, or anything else you'd like to add?
Actually, my sister, who I think might be joining us right now, who I forced to be a part of those family productions as a kid, is
full
also,
circle.
yeah, full circle, is also in the events industry. And at the previous company she was working with, they did a big event for Airbnb where they did the same event in multiple cities around North America. And she was assigned to run the one in Toronto. And so she had a small team from her team that was going there to activate this event, but she really needed more support with, you know, different vendor partners and really one person boots on the ground who really knew that area. And she's like, I don't know, like, how am I going to find all of these people? I'm like, let me give this a thought. Let me connect you with Sebastian from ILEA Canada, because he's based in Toronto, knows tons of people there, made the introduction, and he kind of dropped everything, introduced her to all of the right people. To this day, she was like, that was the best production assistant that I've ever worked with. They made that event go from being successful to just knocking it out of the park, and made the experience for her and her team in this new city that they'd never produced an event in before go so smoothly. So it's truly, maybe you, if you're listening right now and you're thinking about joining as a member, are like, oh, well, I really only do events right in my local area. But you never know when someone you know might need help somewhere. And it might be family or a friend or somebody that you meet. And so the people that you meet, you never know when that will come into play. Or, you know, right now here in like kind of the Northwest, we're experiencing a major storm. Like if you're trying to produce an event right now, I know Melissa was saying that power is down for so many people in the area where she is. There are people that you can call, you know, that are going to come and help you with generators or anything else that you're going to need at a moment's notice. But you'll have those numbers, or if you don't have the numbers, you'll have the number of somebody who can connect you with someone.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the power of networking, the power of relationships.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. Again, I always use the word community, and it truly is, because we are a community, and we're there for each other. We're there to help each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
So,
the one big question that is always the hard part, but ILEA in one word. If you could just sum up ILEA in general in one word, is there
I've
something?
already said the word a few times. I'm just gonna throw it out there one more time. For me, I would say the one word is community. How about for you, Connie? What's your word?
I mean, again, I keep saying that word too, and that's one of my favorite words, but I think relationships too.
Mm-hmm.
I think relationships, because in different ways, friendships, personal relationships. ILEA has brought both into my life, and I think professionally, it's professional relationships, ILEA relationships, and personal. I truly have made friends
Yeah.
through ILEA that's not work related whatsoever. So I think
I'm
that's a
gonna
big.
turn the tables back on you for a minute. Thank you so much for like interviewing me, but do you have any like incredible ILEA stories or memorable experiences that you'd love to share out with the group?
Sure. So I think so. I used to always tell people that. So I had a job prior to what I'm doing now, and I worked in venues, and I'd be on site tours with people, and we had like a preferred vendor list that I'm sure everyone's familiar with. And some things we were not exclusive to. And one of the areas was like DJs and bands and whatnot, because we just felt that that was an area that we would let the client kind of choose. It's a little bit different in different areas of the event vendor, I think, world of things that we wanted to kind of hold their hands with, and things that we were. And I would immediately mention the two companies that were ILEA members. And it was for multiple reasons. It's because, one, I saw them regularly. So they were always top of my mind. They were always at the meetings. They were always at the events, or they were a board member. Because of that, I witnessed their talent and what they did for a living. So I knew that I felt comfortable recommending them. And then again, the relationship, because of the relationship that I formed with them through ILEA, I knew that if their services were being provided in my venue, I had 100% faith and trust that it would go perfectly for me and the client. So And those folks I'm still very good friends with that I would recommend through ILEA. So I think that's something that's power, and people will sometimes say, well, what does it give back to you? By doing that, it didn't really come back to me in like a financial way necessarily, but knowing that my job was going to be, I don't want to say easier that night, but more controllable, and that was the top quality would be provided back to my client. That is a sense of confidence that I don't think that I'd be able to get without relying on ILEA members.
Yeah, that's great. That brought up another point while you were talking. I think how to make the most out of your membership is to offer, depending on what you do, if you're the event manager at a venue, invite the local chapter to come and do an event at your venue. If you're a DJ or a musician, offer to, play at one of the events. If you have a rental company or you're a florist or you do lighting or whatever you do, you can really offer to showcase what you do. And to your point, Connie, then people get to know you and really see what you have to offer. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can make the most of your membership. I think we're getting close to time, so we'll just wrap up by reminding everyone that now is a wonderful time to join ILEA. During this membership drive, you get $50 off your membership. There's 10 more days to join, so go to ILEAHub.com and sign up now, and you'll affiliate with a local chapter, or if you don't have a chapter near you, pick member at large, and you're part of the ILEA family.
I think with open arms, we welcome you all, and we're all here to support you, pat you on the back, and cheer you on. So if there's anything that we can do to assist you, I think I can speak for Dana and myself and Melissa. We're all here and would be happy to speak to anybody, but we support your decision.
Yes. So welcome to ILEA, and thanks so much for joining us today and listening in. And we look forward to seeing you in person or virtually somewhere along the way.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Dana.
everybody.
Bye.